Today we're in Bangalore and I'm about to sit down with the head of Novo Juris, which is a law firm for startups and rapidly growing technology companies in India. They've worked with some massive companies and I have the pleasure now of sitting down with the founder. Let's go hang out with Sharda Balaji. Sharda, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here, Alex. And it's quite a pleasure that you have this really nice channel catering to entrepreneurs, which is my first love.
That's amazing. Tell me about Novo Juris. For people that don't know, let's start there. What is Novo Juris? What's your mission? Why are you here?
Okay, we're a law firm. And we focus on entrepreneurs and multiple stakeholders. So when we launched in 2008, it was primarily focused on entrepreneurs wanting to set up. And 2007, 2008, India saw that growth of entrepreneurship. But I have gone through the journey of, it's not okay to be an entrepreneur, get a girl to get married, to it's so super cool to call yourself an entrepreneur. So I've seen that journey over the last 13 years. And what we do is become the legal department for these companies, right? For the growth companies, startups and growth companies, in the continuum of, forming to becoming their governance, compliances, fundraise, M&As, IP protection, cross-border mergers, and most of our clients are global products of sorts, right? In the industry of, and also in the industries of e-commerce, media, telecom, of a little bit, fintech, health tech, SaaS, cloud, data analytics, a huge range, and it's wonderful to be in the right place, right time, enjoying it.
So, for instance, what Ankit always tells me about Generation Geo, when Geo came in and gave everybody internet access in 2016. How have you seen it evolve since 2008, working with these startups and watching this ecosystem grow?
So it used to be this small knit of people back in 2007, 2008. You would get to see the same kind of people, right? The same sort of 50, 100 people when there used to be a session. To now, it's like massive sessions. It used to be Delhi only, to now every tier 2, tier 3 cities talking about startups. And then, I think the journey has been the Bansers, I love them. Starting a Flipkart and they sell, and therefore there is that entire cycle. And now there are so many of these founders who are, again, angel investors starting up again. Therefore, that initial inhibition of, startups is not cool, it doesn't pay you, there's heavy rates of failure, has kind of gone, and it's like super nice. Oh, you're an entrepreneur. Oh, you have your startup. It's come to that level, which is the exciting piece.
So you've been riding this wave. It sounds like you got in right at the right time and you've been building from here. How has that gone? Can you tell me more about the journey of building this business that you're running right now?
In Novo Juris, okay, when we started, we thought, I have been an in-house counsel before. I was with Intel, managing South Asia, 4 countries, and set up funds, did global mergers, global acquisitions, and mega investments into listed entities. And then I moved on and did an IPO for a real estate company, raised tons of money, of course. And suddenly, and while at Intel, we had something called a strategic initiatives group. What it meant is, it's like more like a patent harvesting session. So an engineer could come, present their 2-page idea, gets worth its while, gets funded, gets to a POC level, worth its while, gets funded, becomes a business unit. And I saw something move from a 2-page idea to it was in digital health, and it became a global business for Intel. Extremely exciting journey. And I saw that if I enjoy it so much, then why don't I do it over and over again? And that's how Novo Juris took birth. And initially, it used to be tech-only companies, very high-tech companies. And then we saw the failed businesses of group buying, like Groupon, for example, to e-commerce, like I still have Binny Bansal's email, to a whole range of products, and the gumption of the Indian entrepreneur to build global products, global apps, acquire companies globally, set their bases outside of India. So thinking global is what is exciting, and therefore our journey has been how do we, laws are very territory specific, right? You're an India lawyer, you're a US lawyer. So how can we, it might be strange for you from US because then you have lawyers who kind of work on every jurisdiction, but for India, we now need to know Indonesian law. We need to know a Polish law because we externalized one of the company to become a Polish company, to Singapore, to US. We see a whole range, and that is the excitement that we currently have. So becoming from startup to growing companies to growth, large scale growth companies to scaled up companies to multiple M&A, we are seeing all of it, and that's the journey that we are really enjoying.
What do you think makes a successful Indian company? And the reason why I say that is a lot of American brands try to come into India and they fail. Like Ford just had to pull a bunch of their cars out, and yet there are successful Indian companies everywhere. So what's the difference? What have you seen?
I think it's the sheer tenacity of running the business. Of course, you need to know the terrain, right? Because you spoke about Ford, it's, Ford told Mr. Tata that, do you even know how to build cars? Ford couldn't sell cars here. So I think it's knowing about the customer, knowing about the terrain, the tenacity. For example, there is enough stories about, if you want to build just an e-commerce company, then you actually had to build your own warehousing infrastructure, you had to build your own logistics infrastructure, etc. Right? So that is the tenacity, and that takes time. But now, I think over the last 12, 13 years, people have identified some of these areas of huge business potential and the scale that it can see. And we have seen investors from early stage, seed stage investors investing into these companies. And we also have the large ones like your Tiger Global, etc., investing into these companies. It's just that has taken the growth itself. I think what an Indian entrepreneur is very different is the frugality of, making it happen and being at it. I think that is making, that's the difference, I think, of an Indian entrepreneur's DNA, which is markedly very different.
Because you think of someone like Oyo, the story of Oyo, it's just there's a bunch of Indian hotels that have rules, and it's all not. It's like we're staying at a hotel. You can't really have like guests. You can't really do anything. Oyo comes in, takes over other people's hotels, makes it great. Airbnb is hard to stay in. Oyo is easy, and they take over like that. The growth strategy. We did a whole video on Oyo because I was so impressed by what's going on. Because there's an Oyo in Las Vegas. They're everywhere. So it just goes to show you. Yeah, it just goes to show you. You hit the right business idea, and you can explode in India. There's so much here.
Yeah, I think Oyo, when I worked with Ritesh, he was 19 years, and it's hard to believe that he was 19. So when we did, it used to be a different business model, and the way he pivoted and made it grow such a huge organization, it's amazing. And I think it is also the way he ramped up his team to bring in a very, very strong players, key players. I think that's been his great success mantra. Amazing guy.
As somebody, that's cool you bring that up. So as somebody that is kind of like a gatekeeper, like you're able to open doors to a lot of people if they present themselves the right way. What would be your tips for, let's say you're a wannabe Indian entrepreneur and you want to get on the path of somebody like him? How should people be thinking about this? When it comes to presenting yourself to venture capitalists or getting the right people on board?
I think there's enough, Alex, on how do you pitch, how do you meet venture capitalists, etc. Earlier, it used to be us, them. To now, most VCs are us. Easy to access. they have coffee talks to fireside chats to they are present in groups like the Indus entrepreneurs to you can just send them an email to a peer level person, and of course lawyers, where we can connect to so many of these investors. And just to take an example, there is a South Korean company wanting to acquire media companies in India. So I know of 5 of my clients, and I immediately do those introductions, right? It could be an investment or an acquisition. So from that perspective, it is finding these kind of people who can help you make those connects will really help them. And I think it's the smarts of getting, connecting, networking.
And it's interesting you bring up email, because that's the main thing that we teach. I call cold email a superpower, because if you phrase your pitch in the right way, you can basically do whatever you want. You break down those gatekeepers, because it used to be you had to get introed or try to work your way in, but now you just send a good email. You can basically do whatever you want.
Response.
Yeah.
But, not so much a cold email person, but a warm intro from somebody, say a fellow founder or a portfolio company of a VC firm. The introductions are usually very helpful.
What do you think are the biggest opportunities now when you look at the business space in India, startup space, tech space? Where should we be looking? What do you think are the biggest opportunities?
Huge. Space tech, for example. I have invested into a space company called Kava Space, where they are building space infrastructure, right? Tier 2 warehousing, for example, logistics, fintech, huge number of opportunities in finance itself. And fintech is what most banks are even fear. The mega banks are trying to reinvent themselves to go the fintech way. Health tech in a very big way, not just the pandemic reasons, but otherwise too, for a large country of our size, health tech in a very big way. Edutech, because of digitization, I see edutech taking off in a very big way. And just the lockdown, I think, has spawned opportunities for content-related businesses, right? Just the content, variety of content, and the way the people are consuming content, I think that itself is another big business opportunity. And I'm seeing these kind of companies. So just to take you back to 2007, 2008, I used to see seasons of group buying companies, seasons of an e-commerce company. To now, there isn't a trend or anything. There are opportunities in so many different areas. And I think that is why you are seeing the number of startups that India is seeing.
When you talk payments, this is something that we had to deal with recently, because we launched a course, it's called American English, and it was all about how to get not Indian entrepreneurs, just people in India, freelancers, et cetera, to stop accepting like $150 a month and start getting $2,000, $3,000 a month. But one of the issues we ran into when we're selling this to people is a lot of people in India, they don't have PayPal, they don't have credit cards. So now we're having to open an Indian business bank account. We're getting hooked up on Razor Pay. We're getting Paytm in there. So there's a lot of innovation that could come from that as well.
Oh, I completely agree with you. So the so-called gig economy that we call, and the great resignation that's happening in the US, and the fact that we are a huge country and people would like to be in their hometowns. And I think the fact that people have realized that it's okay, and location is not so constrained that you've got to be, for every job, you've got to be at the location. I think that is kind of, I think all of us are figuring out, and it's possible to work from different locations. For example, as a law firm, it's okay to work in any location, but there are some functions where it's so easy to collaborate, and it's nice that you are at a place so that it becomes faster, quicker, easier on everybody. In terms of going back to the payments related thing, is an issue. And I think most of them with Paytm, those kind of apps, I think it's still possible. Google Pay, Paytm, they're still adopting it. maybe it's a message for Vijay Shekhar Sharma to go much deeper into adoption of Paytm in tier 2, tier 3 cities and make gig economy or freelancing more worthwhile for people. But there are people who are embracing freelancing a lot more than it used to be before.
And it is totally flat. Especially, yeah, you're talking about the pandemic. You touched on it for a second, but in February 2020, March 2020, everyone basically became flat. The world became completely flat because there's no difference talking to somebody in India than there is talking to somebody in Georgia. It's all the same Skype, it's all the same screen.
Same Zoom calls, whether it's 1 kilometer away from where you are. Yeah. I really like, and this is for some of the introverts who, like me, who find it very difficult to network in 500 people conferences. I enjoy the Zoom calls where it's easy to network, and the breakout sessions on Zoom, and the fact that you get a good FaceTime for 3-4 minutes where you can pitch. I have enjoyed the digital way of networking. I enjoy it. So it's less of travel, not very overwhelming. You still get a good FaceTime. I like this digital networking era.
How do you think about growth from your career point of view? So you are where you are, you've succeeded beyond probably everyone's wildest dreams, but you know how it is when you're growing. Like, do you feel it? One, do you feel like you've succeeded? Two, where are you going from here? What's next? How are you thinking about growing the business, if that's even a priority?
I have come a long way working with, maybe we've done thousands of startups, thousands of financing transactions, global transactions. So all of that is exciting, but there's so much more that we can do. My personal goal is to make a difference to at least 1 lakh entrepreneurs. Inching there. But there's so much that we can do. What next is, I think it's our clients taking us to the next level, because they are setting up their businesses in other countries, US majorly, Singapore majorly, and they are very, very ambitious of going to Southeast Asia. Indonesia is an upcoming market for many of them. Vietnam is coming for upcoming market for many of these companies. And there are some where it has to be a established niche like the US. So for us, expanding into these geos and finding partnerships into these countries as either law firms or as any of that kind of relationships, either we set up a small outfit, say in the US, is our next stop.
How has that gone? Meaning, as you're breaking out of India, you're going into these other countries. Have you encountered any roadblocks, or how's it been moving out to some of these other countries?
So we are part of a global law firm networks. One of them is iTech Law, and we meet lawyers from more than 60 countries. And that's how you build relationships, and they become your best friends. So when they want some legal support in India, they reach out to us similarly. When I wanted something in Poland, for example, or Vietnam, for example, or Indonesia, we reach out to them. And that's how it's been working. Roadblocks in terms of, I don't see as a roadblock as much as taking those steps, which is measured steps of setting ourselves up there. And we are not investable companies, right? Nobody invests. We don't get venture capital. So it has to be customer revenue for us to invest into those kind of expansion.
One thing that, talking to global entrepreneurs, US entrepreneurs is the same way too, but one thing that you must be good at is raising your level of basically how much money you're willing to accept, et cetera. Like, Divij was working at a job for $150 a month. When he was doing that, he thought it was an okay salary. He needed $800 before he could get married. And luckily, he bumped into our team. We were able to hook him up with that and get him on a much broader, larger path. But you've seen, at your level, it's much higher than that. What happened in your mind? How did you get to the point where how did you get comfortable accepting a higher wage?
Okay, so we're in a knowledge business. I think for us, the key difference is expertise, right? So with the moment you add value to your client, he sees that value is when you get paid more. So the moment, that's one way. The other is, oh, I don't have to break my head, go to a labor person, to a IP person, to a compliance person, to a Singapore lawyer, to a US lawyer. Oh, go to Novo Juris and you get everything. So that's another way where you can have your value showcased, which helps us to get paid higher. I think those are the ways. And just doing extremely good work, and one of the things that I had was a very simple mantra. Back then, an entrepreneur had to follow up with his lawyer to get work done. And one of the things that we said is no follow-ups. Nobody will ever follow up. It's so simple, right? And that's what makes them valuable, makes it valuable. The other thing is most lawyers are not accessible, easily accessible. We said we are going to be accessible. And that's one of the things that our customers find it easy because we are there on WhatsApp like everybody else and nothing at all. So it's so easy for them to relate and we relate to them. And I think that's another one which made us really, really gain a lot of traction with our clients.
It's interesting because, so we were in Faridabad and I was talking to an agency owner, similar age to you, but he's charging $500 a website. Mm-hmm. And he's competing with these freelancers. Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody like that?
So there are two ways to do it, right? It could be a mass, I'll do 500 per website, but I will do maybe 1,00,000 websites. That's one model, but I'll charge 1,00,000 rupees and I'll do one website and I'll earn more. Mm-hmm. So, and both business models are okay. So that's his business model. For him, it's a volume game. For somebody like Divij, it has been a quality game, right? So I think it's okay for both business models to exist.
It's okay if he has the volume.
Yeah.
For me, what I've seen is it's harder for a lot of people to get the volume. Mm-hmm. At least personally, I find it's better to have a few clients that are paying more, because then you can always get volume on those clients too.
I think these are different business models.
Completely different, yeah, completely different. Interesting. So thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to add or anywhere you want to send people after watching this interview?
I think they should visit our website, novojuris.com. There is a lot of knowledge in terms of, we have a very well-written blogs, very deeply researched on how to set up, how to scale up, how to grow teams, how to protect IP, how to get investments, term sheets, how to negotiate, a whole lot of data available. I think I urge all of you to do visit our website, and relationships@novojuris.com is the email ID. If you have any legal question that you want to reach out to us, do feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to reply to your questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the channel, and thanks for having me in your office.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to smash that like button to encourage this type of content on YouTube. Subscribe for more like this, because we're in India for a while, and I want to meet with as many phenomenal people as we can. So subscribe if you want to see that, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. I'm Alex Berman.